Let's now take a look at the randomization test option in the ordinal analysis concatenated orderings procedure. So we've been working with these affective realism data, in which we have these positive, neutral, and negative ratings of images. Recall that the expected ordinal pattern is that the positive ratings should be higher than the neutral ratings, which should then be higher than the negative ratings. So that again is our expected ordinal pattern for these observations. Now the randomization test, we can select it here by choosing this box. We are set with 1,000 number of trials as the default. Now, if you have a large data set, I'd recommend maybe bumping this down to 100 or maybe even 10, just to let it run and see how long it's going to take to iterate. Now, here we have only 45 cases. We're not going to have any trouble getting through 1,000 trials here. Now, we also have these randomized options. We have within cases, within orderings, all observations, and deep structures. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the within cases option in this video. And then we can save the randomized results by selecting this box here. Now, with the within cases option, what's going to happen is that the algorithm or the program is going to randomize the data within the cases. So if we take a look at case number 1, it's going to randomly shuffle these 3 observations. Then for case number 2, it's going to randomly shuffle these 3 observations. And then for case number 3, randomly shuffle those 3 observations and so forth. Now, once all the observations have been randomly shuffled, the algorithm computes the PCC index for those randomized data and sets that aside. So that's a randomized PCC index. Then it goes through and randomizes the data again, case by case, computes the PCC and sets that aside, and does that 1,000 times, as we can see here. So there'll be 1,000 randomized PCCs that are generated. And again, we're going to be able to take a look at those when we once we run the analysis and go to the data edit window where these randomized results will be saved. So let's go ahead and run the analysis, but first I'm going to turn off these pairwise results so we can focus specifically on a set of results here. So I'm going to scroll up and see that we have chosen the within cases option for our randomization method. We get the various summary information here. Here is the expected pattern: positive greater than neutral, greater than negative. And here we see the PCC for the complete cases, 24.44%, or 11 out of the 45 individuals matched this ordinal pattern all the way across for their 3 observations. So 24.44%. Now the randomization results come next. And before looking at these, I'm actually going to switch over to the data edit window and look at the randomization results that have been saved. So notice here's the affective realism data that we just analyzed. And now here's a new data set that's been created. These are the randomized PCCs essentially. So I'll select the Define Orderings button. I'm going to go ahead and expand this out. And I'll move this over a little bit here so we can see. Here are the percent correct classifications. And here's the percent correct classified cases. So this goes with the PCC we're interested in looking at, the 24.44%. So I'll turn on the distribution here. We get a somewhat normal looking distribution. That's not necessarily always going to be the case, but it is here, maybe a little bit skewed to the upper end here. Now notice that the maximum PCC from the randomized data was 37.78%. The minimum was 2.22%. And we can see the 24.44 here. Now if we were to add all of these up, 46 plus 34 plus 14 and so forth, these are the number of PCCs, randomized PCCs, that were equal to or greater than the observed PCC. So let's go ahead and go back then to the text output window. And again, here's that 24.44%. And I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. I'm going to go here and just hit enter so I can move this up so we can see it. And so again, here's the 24.44% repeated. Here are the 1,000 trials that we requested. Here's that 2.22%. Again, that's the smallest PCC that was observed from the randomized versions of the data. Here's the maximum that we saw a moment ago, the 37.78%. And if we added up those values that were 24.44 or greater, it turns out to be 107. So that then gives us our model chance value, C value, which is 107 divided by 1,000, which is 0.107 or 0.11 rounding. So a fairly small value, not impressively low. It might, depending on your take on these particular data and this PCC index, it might sway you towards going with the causal explanation for the pattern in the data rather than the chance explanation. But with OM, there's no cut point here. Your overall interpretation of the data is based on your causal theory, the pattern that you see in the data, the PCC index, and then lastly, this chance value can be used, again, to choose between theoretically interpreting your data or interpreting your data as just really due to physical chance. Now, in subsequent videos, we'll take a look at the other options for randomizing the data.